Hey everyone, this is Steve here. Alright, I had another request come through today, and this lesson I'm going to be talking about something that I tend to get asked a lot really, and that is, how do you build speed playing guitar? Okay, now first thing is, one, this is something that you're not going to get this straight away. This is something that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and a lot of practice. Okay, but what you have to make sure is that you practice in the right way, because if you don't practice in the right way and you're making mistakes, you're going to get very good at doing it wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few of the things that I do and that I've done in the past and still practice that help me, so hopefully you'll get something out of it as well. So let's get right to it. Okay, first of all, you really want to understand about the mechanics of what you're doing, what you actually need to get both your hands doing. Alright, so we'll start with the picking hand. Now firstly, you want to make sure that you're holding your pick properly, which is between your thumb and your first finger, like this. You don't need to have loads and loads of your pick sticking out at the end, like that. You only need just a small amount like this. And the actual motion of picking, it's a wrist movement, like that. Okay, you're not moving your elbow or your shoulder or anything like that. It all comes out of your moving your wrist from side to side. I always say to my students, when you rest your hand down on the bridge and all the strings you're not playing, like this, imagine you've got a bolt going through your hand like that. Okay, so that's fixed on the guitar and you can only move from side to side like that. Okay, that's what you're doing. Okay, now when you're actually picking the strings, one other thing you want to make sure you do, you don't want to make huge big movements like this. Okay, all you're looking to do is get this pick from this side of the string to this side of the string. Okay, so you don't need to go all the way up here and all the way down there, because you're gonna start hitting unwanted strings. So you're making very small movements, okay, when you're actually picking, and it's probably going to mean that you're going to end up picking the strings very, very lightly as well. Okay, you don't need to be really hitting the strings hard. So if you find you are hitting the strings very hard, that's actually going to hamper your ability to play quickly. So you want to lighten up on your technique anyway. And also, the lighter you hit the strings, the less chance you're going to have a break in them. So it's going to do your bank balance a lot of good as well. So, all right. The other thing as well is you want to make sure that you hold your pick sort of flat to the string. I'll put my guitar sideways. So you want to be holding your pick like this, so it's flat. You don't want to be like this or this or this or this. It wants to be flat like this. Okay, I mean, I know some people might disagree. They might say, oh yeah, you got to turn it over like this. Well, okay, fine, that's fair enough. That works for you, but I was always taught to hold it dead flat, so that's what I do. And the other thing as well is, you don't want to be putting your pick right down here like this. Okay, you're only looking to be brushing the sort of the tip of the string like that, because if you're right down here, it's going to slow you down. Okay, which is why you don't want to angle your pick either. The reason being, this is okay if you're going down, but when you come back up, you see how you hook the string like that? Yeah, that's going to slow you down as well. At least when your pick is dead flat, you've got nothing holding you back really. And also, earlier when I talked about putting your hand down on the guitar's bridge here, you don't want to have your wrist fixed in one spot like that, because it's okay if you start up on the E string like this, but when you get down to the top E string, now my pick is angled, so you're going to have to move your hand up and down on the guitar bridge like this, so that you're flat up here, and by the time you get down to the top E string, you're flat here as well, like that. Okay, so if your guitar hardware is gold, you're going to have to accept that at some point you're going to rub all the gold plating off and it's going to go silver. Yeah, it's just going to, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. So, okay, that's a few pointers with the picking hand. Now, what about the fretting hand? Well, how you grip the guitar matters, okay, when you're playing scales or when you're playing quick. When you're playing chords, I don't really think it kind of matters too much. As long as all the notes are coming out, it doesn't really matter too much. But when you're doing scales and speed stuff, it's a different story. Now, one thing, the way I grip the neck is, I'll spin around here, you want to make sure that your thumb is on the back of the neck, pointing up at the ceiling, okay, like this, okay. You don't want to have your thumb like this, okay. You don't want to have it up on the top like that, okay. This position's okay for blues if you're bending strings, okay, but when you're trying to play at speed, this isn't going to help you at all. I mean, obviously, you know, if you've got giant hands and, you know, your thumb sits up here because it's big, okay, fine. But generally speaking, you want to have your thumb in the middle of the guitar neck, pointing at the ceiling. Anywhere from sort of, you know, sort of here, kind of upwards, okay? Now, what's also going to happen is, as you move down the strings, okay, this is the mistake a lot of people make, okay? As they go down the strings like this, their hand goes up like that, okay? And they end up with their thumb up here again. Now, this is no good because you can't stretch out your fingers with your hand in this position. You have to have your wrist almost at a right angle like that, okay? And as you play down the strings, your thumb is going to go down with your fingers. So you're moving everything up and down like this, okay? And the reason for this is because if you're doing this and your thumb's up here, or if you're trying to just do all your playing with your thumb up here, you're approaching the string from like this angle here, like that. Well, that's no good to you because your frets are straight. Okay, so you have to keep your fingers running parallel with the fret wire. When you play up and down something on a guitar, whether it's a scale or an exercise or anything like that, in an ideal world, this is what your fingers should look like. Okay, like that. See how they're running parallel with the frets? Okay, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so when you're playing away and you're looking down at your hand, they want to be moving like this and not like this. Okay, now the next thing, when you're actually moving your fingers, very simple thing for you to bear in mind: distance equals time. Okay, what does that mean? What it means is when you're playing something, okay, the further I lift my fingers away from the guitar, the longer it's going to take me to put them back. Okay, so you don't want to be trying to do anything like this. Okay, you have to turn that into this. Alright, so that's one thing that you've got to watch out for as well. Okay, now keeping your fingers close to the neck, if you're not doing it before, this is something that will take quite a bit of practice and quite a bit of discipline, but once you've got the hang of it, you'll sort of think to yourself, you'll never know how you sort of did it before, really. Another thing to bear in mind as well, when you're playing, whether you're playing with picking all the notes, whether you're playing, you know, with legato, which I'll make another video about some other time, you don't want to lift off your finger as the next one comes down. Okay, so you wouldn't want to be playing like this. Okay, you can keep your fingers on the string. So even when I did that, I've now got 3 fingers on here. So as you can see, my first finger didn't leave this string at all. I didn't move it. Okay, so because doing this, you know, is going to really wear out your muscles and it's going to slow you down. Okay, I mean, now this is maybe good for sort of maybe practicing getting all your fingers working independently and stuff, but in reality, nobody is going to be lifting all their fingers on and off the whole time unless you're Alan Holdsworth. You know, and his style works for him, and you know that's great. But you know, really, unless you're him or you're playing his stuff, there's really, I don't think, any need for you to be playing like that. Okay, so the next thing is practicing using a metronome. Okay, now this is something I can guarantee most guitar players, and I'm going to single out rock players and metal players here because you know these are the guys really who want to do all the fast stuff and all the shredding and whatever you want to call it. Okay, they don't practice with metronomes, and the reason for that most likely is because playing with a metronome is boring. Alright, let's be honest, it pretty much is. But, you know, and also having this going on all the time, after a while, is going to drive you insane. But with the right practice, this thing is going to become your best friend, okay? And the other good thing with playing with a metronome as well is you can actually track your own progress. You know, you can see how well you're progressing. When you play something and you get it right at one tempo, you up the tempo. If you get it at that tempo, you up it again to the point you can't do it anymore, and then you've got a new goal, so you can actually see how well you're doing. But again, you've got to practice using this in the right way. Now, what does that mean? Well, you'll be surprised how long you can hold a note for on a guitar before you get to the next note. Okay, now it's important to understand about how long notes actually last for. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this metronome to 60 beats per minute to demonstrate this. Okay, there we go. Now, I know this is a digital metronome. If you imagine one of the old-fashioned metronomes, like a piano metronome or a pendulum or a windscreen wiper, whatever you want to visualise, okay, it's going like this, okay? Your note has got to last from there to there, like this. Okay, now if you're doing that, all of your notes are going to be the same duration and everything's going to be very, very clear and very clean. See, what a lot of players will end up doing, where they don't practice with metronomes, it will sound like this. Okay, everything's what's called staccato, everything's cut really short. And that could either be because they're lifting their fingers off and taking the pressure off, or they get their pick and they put it back on the string again, so they're doing this. Either way, if you're doing that, it's wrong and you should stop doing it. Okay? Because ultimately, if you're getting the notes to be the right duration and every single one of them is the same, depending on whether you're playing quarter notes as I was just doing, or whether you're playing eighth notes or 16th notes or whatever note grouping you're doing, everything you want to play wants to be clean and wants to be precise and wants to be accurate. Because otherwise, you know, you can take something, and I'm going to put the tempo up to about, I don't know, let's go for like 200 or something. Okay? So I'm going to be playing 4 notes per beat here, 16th notes, so something like this. Now, there was a whole bunch of notes in there, but the point is you heard every single one of them, because they were all the right duration, because I've spent a long, long time working with a metronome. People who don't work with metronomes, what they play sounds like this. It just sounds like a really jumbled mess of notes, because every note is being cut too short. Okay, so you don't want to have your playing sounding like that. Okay. The next thing I could tell you about practicing with a metronome is to really, you know, take your time with it. If you're working on something and you're at a tempo and it's not coming together, just slow the metronome back down and keep working on whatever it is you're working on, and then just try and up the tempo again and see how it feels. Now, in terms of actually getting clarity out of notes as well, another thing you're going to want to do, and this actually goes back earlier to what I was talking about picking the strings, is you want to be muting out the unwanted strings. Okay, so what I mean is, when I'm playing up here on the E string, my wrist is like that across all the other strings, so that they're not going to ring out and make any sound. And as I play up the strings, I just simply drag my wrist up like that. And the same if I'm starting here and I'm going down, I just start up here with my hand on the bridge, or maybe even on the guitar's body around about here somewhere, and then I just bring it down like that. Okay, and that keeps everything sounding clean. You don't get any like those nasty overtones going on. So at the moment, that's about really all I can think of in terms of a few things that you can do to help out with your speed playing. I hope you've found this useful. If you have, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm really having good fun doing these lessons actually, so again, any more requests, you know, keep them coming and I'll keep filming them for you. But in the meantime, people, thanks a lot for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.